I'm Steve Good and welcome to my Scroll Saw Workshop. In tonight's video we're going to make this beautiful hollow vase, and we're not going to use a lathe to do it. We're going to do it completely on the scroll saw. The trick to making this vase, which looks like it came right off a lathe, is to cut concentric rings out of 3/4 inch pieces of stock at the correct angle to make the pieces fit together once you reverse them and stack them. So what I'm going to do tonight is take you through the techniques that I do to make that happen. The first thing I want to talk about before we get started is to explain the technique of this just a little bit greater. You can see here I've got a piece that I've already cut the middle out of, and what I've done is I've drilled my starter hole at a 20-degree angle, and I've set my table on my scroll saw at a 20-degree angle, and when I cut these pieces out, you'll see that they'll come out in one direction towards the bevel but not the other. And what you can do once you take these pieces apart and you reverse them, you can see that they stack perfectly in the shape of a bowl. Now all we have to do is take this technique farther and continue to build the bowl up as high as we need it. And in this case, since we're doing a vase, we're going to go ahead and make 2 of these, flip them upside down on each other, and then we can have the beginnings of a vase. Now this does take quite a bit of sanding when you get done, so you really need a power sander of some type. You can do this by hand, but it's going to take you quite a bit longer. You'll see that where you drill the entry holes, you're going to have a little bit of mess that you're going to have to clean up with sander. So building the project is pretty simple. The sanding is probably the hard part. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is what we'll need to build this project. In this case, for this particular pattern, you're going to need some planks of wood that are 5 inches by 5 inches square, and they need to be 3/4 inch thick. Now a lot of you guys are always asking me to design projects with 3/4 inch thick wood because you can get it so easily, and so here you go. This is a project that we're going to build entirely out of 3/4 inch material. So to make the base, you're going to need 3 of these blanks that are 5 by 5 by 5. You're going to need the pattern that you can download from the website at www.scrollsawworkshop.blogspot.com, and you're going to cut the patterns out exactly the size of the blanks. And as you can see on these patterns, all they are concentric rings that are 1/4 inch apart. Now what I've done is I've done a calculation that determines for 3/4 inch material and rings that are 1/4 inch wide, we need a 20-degree bevel cut into these pieces so they'll stack together properly. And to do that, I take them to the drill press first and cut the entry holes at a 20-degree bevel. And to make that easier, I create what I call a story stick. And basically all that is a stick that has a 20-degree bevel cut on the end of it. Now you can cut this at your table saw, or you can cut it at your cross saw, whatever you have handy. I'll even put a 20-degree angled piece in the pattern so you can cut it right on your scroll saw if you want to. This doesn't have to be perfect, and depending on the blade you use and the wood, you may even have to vary this angle just a little bit to get them to fit as well as you want without quite so much sanding. So in the pattern, I'll give you this 20-degree angle so you can create the story stick. So there we have it. We got our 3 blanks. I've already got the patterns applied to all of them. Now we're going to head over to the drill press, and I'll show you how to drill the entry holes. I'm over here at the drill press now, and I'm going to show you how I use this story stick to get our starter holes at the correct angle. What I've done here is I've got just a spare piece of wood down here on the bottom. I've got a piece that I'm using as a wedge to hold the angle of my actual vase piece up here. And what I do is I use my story stick to adjust this piece back and forth until I get a good match between this angle and the drill bit. Okay? And then I'll move the whole piece back and forth to line it up with where I need to begin the cut. So it's really that simple. Now if you have a drill press table that tilts, tilt it to 20 degrees, and it's going to be a lot easier for you. If you're going to do this by hand, you can lay this down flat and put your story stick up next to the line, and then just use your hand drill to start the hole, at the proper angle. And you can do it by hand. It's not that hard. And now what I do is I just move the whole unit over 1/4 inch until I line up with the next concentric ring. And I just continue that process until I get all the rings cut. Okay, we're down here underneath my scroll saw right now, and I just wanted to show you that I have the bevel of the table set to 20 degrees to match the same angle that we cut the entry holes with. So make sure you get your table set to 20 degrees and then we can begin cutting. Got my blank over here at the scroll saw now, and we're going to go ahead and begin our cuts. And I've got the table tilted to the right, so I'm going to go ahead and insert the blade through the hole close, the entry hole closest to the middle. We'll cut out the middle first and work our way out. Just makes it easier because it gives us plenty to hold on to if we start in the middle. So you want to make sure that when you start this cut that the table's tilted in a direction that will make the piece get smaller as it goes towards the table. So in this case I've got it set to 20 degrees, I've got the piece in, and I'm going to cut in a counterclockwise direction. So I'm going to go ahead and get the blade set up at tension. In this case you want to give your blade plenty of tension. I'm also using a scroll reverse number 5 blade. The thicker the blade you use might change your angle just a little bit. Not a whole lot, but a little bit, and it'll require more sanding. So you might again have to play around with the angle a little bit. Okay, when you start this cut, the blade might be pinched in here just a little bit as you try to start this turn. So make sure you get a good hold on the piece before you start so don't jump on it. And then we're just going to start the cut. Now, I don't want to apply a whole lot of side pressure to this blade when I'm cutting, or I'll change the angle. So I'm just going to make sure I let the blade do all the work, and don't force it. Don't force the piece of wood into the blade sideways, or you'll change the angle a little bit. Okay, there's the bottom of our vase, and we can just continue to cut these circles until we get the vase all cut out. So you can see it's a really easy project to build. No difficult cuts here. Over here at the assembly table now, and I've got all the pattern removed from the pieces. And what we're going to do now is stack it up and show you how it goes together, and then we'll put some glue on it and glue it up. So you can see as we pull this piece out, we're going to take the center piece, set it down, the next piece, set it down, and we're just going to continue that all the way up until we build the bottom half of our vase. Now at this point you've got a little bowl that you could go ahead and glue up and sand up, and you could stop there if you want, but I like the vase, so we're going to go ahead and basically just duplicate this again. And if you can see from the vase we've already got made here, all we're going to do is build 2 of these, flip it over, glue it together, and we're only going to use the 1, 2, 3, 4 rings on the top, and the 5th ring will come from the 3rd blank, and it'll send it out to the other direction. So gluing this up, I usually build it upside down. I put the larger piece at the bottom. I go ahead and put just a thin bead of glue around this piece here, and just enough to make sure we get a good bond, but not so much where we get too much squeeze out and have to sand it all away. And then once I get that, I take the next piece off the top, lay it on. I generally try to take these ridges from the saw blade and alternate them so they don't all line up. It makes it a little easier to sand them out. So I'll go ahead and put the next piece on there, center it up as well as I can, and then I twist it a little bit to make sure we get a lot of good glue surface together there. And once I get that lined up like I like it, then I'll put glue on this piece and we'll continue to build it.